Hi everybody, this is Jill for today, and I am making for us for lunch a really simple chicken noodle soup, and it's going to be in my Instant Pot. However, there is a twist today. I am using some of my dehydrated vegetables. I have a dehydrator. In fact, it's a marvelous dehydrator, and I will put a link for you down below if you're interested in seeing it. It's on my Amazon store. So I've been doing some dehydrating this summer, and we're going to use some of those to make the soup. Now, if you don't, obviously, if you didn't have dehydrated vegetables, fresh ones or frozen, you can kind of play up that part of it if you don't have dehydrated. So we're going to get started here. I have, for fresh, we did some cabbage and potatoes and sausages the other night, and I had some cabbage left over. I did not have any dehydrated celery. So I'm going to put these, it's really a dump and go. This is all going to go into the pot. All right, so we got that out of the way. And then I've got some chicken here. This is some leftover chicken. We had a rotisserie chicken. We had some left. We threw it in a bowl and then into the freezer. So that's going in. And then here comes the dehydrated stuff. Now I have some dehydrated mushrooms. What's so neat about dehydrated stuff is you'd say, oh, well, that's not much. Well, when it rehydrates, it's a good amount. So I'm just going to kind of break these up. Those were slices, and that's going to go in. And then I have some dehydrated corn. This came from frozen, and I put it in my dehydrator, and it dehydrates up beautifully. And majority of the things that you dehydrate, once you have them rehydrated, you really can't tell. So I'm only putting a couple of tablespoons of corn in there because that's going to go kaboom. I have some onion here. This is chopped onion. Again, I did this in my dehydrator, and that's about all I'm going to put in there, a tablespoon and a half. And what was nice is I was able to chop that on my, the vegetable choppers that you get. And then here are some lima beans. And just a couple of tablespoons. Okay. And then I've got some peas and carrots. And again, these came from frozen. I didn't have to do any parboiling or blanching or anything. I just put them in on the dehydrator and let it go. So that's those. Put that out of the way. I have some canned tomatoes. These are little diced tomatoes. And I'm going to put, I don't know, maybe a cup of those in there and a little bit of the juice. Okay. And then the good old better than bouillon. I put a tablespoon of that in there. This is the chicken. And I'm not going to add any salt to this because better than bouillon is pretty salty. It goes a bay leaf and some pepper. About a half a teaspoon. Well, maybe that's more like a quarter teaspoon. And then I'm going to add a little sprinkle of garlic. And then I'm going to add some hot water. I've got this great, gotta plug this again. This pot is so wonderful. I use it constantly, and I did a review on it, and I'll put a link to the review. I use it for everything. I use it for tea, iced tea, boiling water. Now, because all these vegetables are dehydrated, I have to add more water than I would normally because they're going to absorb a lot of that water. And I'm going to need to get a little bit more. This holds a liter. This little pot here holds a liter, which is plenty for most of the needs that I have. Okay, let me get some water here. I'm checking my counter here to make sure I've got everything. I believe I do. So I'm going to add, well, that was 1 liter. That's probably another 2 cups or so. Yeah. And then what I have done for the noodle part of this is I just pre-cooked. I used rotini pasta, and I pre-cooked some. So, when you put a pasta or a rice in a soup like this and you cook it, well, the first day it's like, oh, wow, this is really good. But as that soup sits, of course, even if it's, obviously in the refrigerator, those noodles or the rice just start to suck up all that moisture. And then you have really more like, well, if you like that kind of thing, then there you are. But I like to have those noodles really more, fresh. So I always cook them separate. And then when I get ready to serve the soup, I put those in at the end. And you know, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more water, not a lot, just a little bit. Okay, that's it. And then I'm going to put the lid on this. Make sure I've got my vent closed off. And I'm going to give this 8 minutes on the regular manual, the basic default temperatures that it always goes on. So I'm going to give it 8 minutes, and then I'm going to let it do a 10-minute quick release, or 10-minute slow down, and then I'll give it a quick release after that. So once this pot is ready to open, I'll bring you back. We're back, and boy, oh boy, does this smell good. 8 minutes, and as I said, I gave it the slow release, and I'm just going to look at this. See these things in here? Look at the mushrooms. Well, let me see if I can get a little something in here. Well, there's mushroom, there's peas, there's a lima bean right there. Look at that. It looks like a lima bean, doesn't it? You know, the carrots, and I ran out of sliced carrots, and so I used the carrots and peas. When you slice a carrot, a regular sized carrot, and a regular sized carrot, what is that, 3/4 of an inch? When you get it dehydrated, it is this little tiny mushed up, you'd say no, but when you rehydrate it, it pops back. And that's what's so great about dehydrated foods, is it takes a lot of pressure off your refrigerator, so you don't have all that stuff in there. The other one is the freezer. We try to, keep the freezer, well, it's too full, but when you can get all those vegetables out of there and you dehydrate them, all that space is let up, because you got this bag of peas that when it's dehydrated, you've got like this little thing. So I'm really sold on dehydrating. So here's the pasta. I did a little rotini, excuse me. I could have done more actually now in hindsight. Well, I don't know. I think it looks like a pretty good, yes, that looks like fish that, what happened to it? Oh, well, I lost the,
It's stuck on the inside.
oh, I see it. Thank you. That's why you're the director, because you can see things on the other side. All right. So I'm going to serve up a bowl here. Oh boy, doesn't that look good? It smells amazing. Oh, and the cabbage, I forgot I put cabbage in there. There's cabbage. Show you that bowl there. Is that just too beautiful? Nice, rich looking stock. Everything looks perfectly cooked. And what I think might be good on this is a little sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. Not necessary, but I think it would be pretty good. We're going to have some lunch here. Again, this is one of those recipes, I can't really say 2 cups of this or 1/2 cup of that. This is the bones of it. And then you can kind of, put your own spin on it, But I think if you give it 6 to 8 minutes in your Instant Pot, if you're using fresh vegetables or the dehydrated, if you're doing it on the stove, maybe 30 minutes, with the fresh vegetables until, of course, they're tender and all that, it's all ready to go. Thank you so much for watching. It's fall, and I'm coming out of the sultry summer hibernation, which we tend to do, and I'm so excited to get back to baking and get back to some really nice, cozy meals. And actually, I'll give you a heads up. The next bread of our, what is it? 80, what is it?
80,
around the world in 80 breads. God, it's been so long, I forgot what I titled it. We're going to Ireland. So just you wait for that one. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thumbs up. It's great for the algorithms. Pass me on to someone else out there who might like my videos. Take care. Bye-bye.